Hello, here's a video about trauma and responses to trauma, and about the fact that there are 4 and they all begin with F, so that's helpful. So just to be clear, when I'm talking in this context, it's not about shock trauma necessarily. I mean, there will be some correlation. So I'm making a difference between shock trauma, which is something that like a single incident. So say I go out now in my car and I'm in a car crash. That's a shock trauma. Then in this context, I'm talking more about what we call developmental trauma. So that's trauma that occurs when we're little, as a result of physical or emotional abuse or sexual abuse, or as a result of emotional neglect. And I'll talk some more about emotional neglect in a later video. So there's two branches to the nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Yeah, so when you're in parasympathetic nervous system, that's the kind of rest and digest state. All is good. You know, you're safe, you can digest your food. It's a bit like if you were a caveman, when you get back to the cave and roll the rock across the cave door, and you're with your tribe, and there's food and there's cuddles and there's all the good stuff. Yeah. And sympathetic arousal, so if you were a caveman, when you were out and about in the day hunting, being hunted, your nervous system is in sympathetic arousal, so that means you're ready to deal with whatever comes. And if it's something very big that happens, very serious, to fight or to flight. Yeah, so that's 2 of the F's. In response to trauma, and I'm defining trauma as anything that is too much, too fast, or too soon for the human nervous system. We might fight, we might flight, or we might freeze. Though interestingly, freeze sits within parasympathetic. Freeze is playing dead. It's the response we have when there's nothing else we can do. We can't fight, we can't flight. We just got to play dead. Hope it goes away. And for very little people, that might be all they have, because they can't fight the big people and they can't run away. And freeze might not look like you laying down on the floor and playing dead. It might just look like you checking out emotionally. Dissociation, it's called. So those are the 3 main ones: fight, flight and freeze. Freeze is the oldest one. That one's been around since we were very simple creatures, before we evolved even into mammals as we know them. Fight and flight came along around the time we evolved into mammals and to groups of apes and then into early man. And some aspects of parasympathetic actually evolved a lot later than that, when we started to live in complex social groups and connection became very important. So the 4th F, this is fairly recently added, notably by a guy called Pete Walker, who writes about complex PTSD, is fawning. So to fawn. So this one really does relate to developmental trauma. So you're a little person, bad stuff's happening, you can't fight, you're too little. You can't flight, where would you go? Dissociation might work if things are really bad. But you might try something else. Yeah, I'm calling it fawning. It's when we try to please the abuser, to look after them, to take care of them. So that kind of thinking, oh, if I'm good, if I'm a good girl, then maybe, you know, it will be okay. Or looking after the other person, so the person might be abusing you, but you might be sort of making excuses for them because they, you know, they had a difficult childhood, or they don't know what they're doing, or all of that is called fawning. Yeah, and you'll kind of know if that's you. You'll just know. probably even before I described it. There's a frantic quality to it. Like you're trying to make things okay desperately. Fight, flight, freeze and fawning. Yeah. So that's probably enough information for this video. The good news is this can all be worked with in therapy. Yeah. If you're someone who spends a lot of time essentially still flighting, nervous system, still ready to run, still ready to fight, checking out, dissociating when things get too much, or fawning, which can cause a lot of problems in adult relationships. So yeah, if you want to know more about any of that, get in touch, and get in touch if you'd like to work with me online or in therapy rooms in South Derbyshire in Tutbury or Mackworth in Derby. And I'll see you soon.